you trying to get crazy with this scene? Don't you know I'm loco?
Probably some of you heard me say this 150 times, is the whole world has this fascination with Southern California. You know, a lot of people all over the world, like what comes from Southern California / the lower left influences the whole world. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Ruiz, a.k.a. Bobby Tribal, and welcome to the Lower Left Podcast. We've been working on it for a while. We're excited to bring it to you. We've got a lot in store. We've got some amazing guests lined up between myself and my boy Johnny Be Good, also known as Johnny Bayonne. What's up, Johnny?
What's going on? It's great to be here in the Lower Left. Like, super excited about the Lower Left podcast. All the different types of people, everyone's different backgrounds. I know it's going to be knowing you and the amount of people you know, Bobby Tribal. It's going to be one for the books, most definitely.
Yeah, I definitely have been working on a list of guests, and we've got a couple in the bag already. So it'll be definitely some of the episodes will be more local based, as in San Diego. Some of them will be, obviously Southern California, friends and family from LA and all over the place. And then there's also will be some international guests, some people that that we work with and that have some really cool stories from pretty much all over the world. It just depends on who's available and who comes through and who we invite and who accepts, but I am sure that we'll have some really, really interesting people, and just I know what we've got and people
interesting places, right? Like
interesting, exactly. Interesting people, from interesting places that have just some cool stories and background. So just hang with us and eavesdrop on our conversations, because there'll be some real cool ones for sure.
Now, this is the Lower Left podcast, derived from obviously the Lower Left right here in San Diego, East Village. What's behind the name, the Lower Left? The Lower Left is kind of a different way of saying Southern California, because we are the lower left most part of the country, which is Southern California. The things that come out of here are just all things that, we represent as not just the tribal clique and people in the building, but, everything that's around us culturally. It can be, skateboarding, the, 4 elements of hip hop, low riding, tattoos, some foodie stuff. There's always, we got food trucks that come through and some foodies in the building, and music, rock and roll, hip hop, and a lot of art. Just there's a lot of cool things, but the Lower Left pretty much was a vision that we've had as Tribal, and from way back when Carl was my partner, to do something that kind of had everything in one building, being, a clothing store and, a tattoo shop, and sell graffiti supplies and do music and have a music studio and things like that. And, always cars are always a part of what we do. So, and, obviously we've got, I think now 11 tattooers in the building. So there's always energy. There's always, somebody in the building, cool talent. A lot of people come through. We've become, kind of a hub for Southern California culture, just a lot of talent constantly coming through. But that dream that we had, a long time ago became a reality here. And, the energy is, super cool. On the daily, there's always something going on, and just so much
talent, man, and good people and cool people and interesting things happening in the building. But it's the lower left is pretty much just a representation of who we are. It's kind of like a co-op, a collective.
Yeah. And also, if you haven't been here, it's like a museum. You walk around, you look at the walls, platinum records, you got original artwork, you got artwork from all over the world. The brick wall that's all tagged up, the whole side of the building, with art from people that are top of their game in what they do. And so it's just walking around visually, like you get inspired.
Yeah, man. It's, thanks, John. But yeah, I've been collecting art, as Tribal and in my personal collection for over 30 years now. So, it's a collection of my favorites pretty much. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to obtain a lot of pieces that, early on in some of the artist's career, I'm still get art, there's always something being added to the collection at least a couple times a week. Like today I got in a piece from, Algeria from a dude named Sneaks from Algeria, which is, Northern Africa. So,
that's what I was just going to ask. Where's Algeria?
Yeah, man. And the dude's got hella talent, real sick. And, there's pieces that come in from all over the world. I've got pieces from all over Europe and Asia and of course the States. And I'm pretty, I guess you'd say eclectic in the types of pieces that I collect. So there's, stuff that's obviously graffiti, then there's tattoo, and then there's stuff that kind of looks like finer pieces and, contemporary and abstracts to realism and just across the board, man. So yeah, it's something that I'm real passionate about, the collection. And then I guess I'm borderline like a hoarder because I also collect, photography and posters and the clothing, the Tribal collection is here too in the building, like all the vintage stuff, the early stuff from the, from 89 to up till now. So I've always kind of kept as much as I could. So that collection's also in the building, but it's, it's cool, man. And this podcast is, there's another reason that I'm excited about this podcast, cause I've got some things to say and, and share. And there's some things that I've had on my mind lately, and I'm not really one to speak too much. Obviously I'm I don't put myself out there like that on a personal level or my viewpoints on things, but I think it's time to say some things and to allow or provide, a lot of people that are great friends of mine, family, and within the network and the community, a platform for them to speak their mind and to share their stories and for people to know the inside stories of, car clubs. Like where we're going to get, a lot of the local clubs, the LA car clubs to speak on it. Tattooers, which, we've got some of the biggest of the big that come through the building are a friend of ours and just everything, across the board. I think there's a lot of people that want to know a little bit more about these artists and these clubs. They know the IGs and they know the names, but there's a lot more to these people, and everyone's got a story, and we're hoping to really be able to share that with people and talk about obviously some history, some things that are going on currently and what people plans are for the future. But we'll get pretty deep in here, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Lower Left podcast is a audio form of everything that goes on in this building. But it also goes deeper than the visual aspect. So like you were talking, like an artist or whatever, tattoo artist, we see their work and it's badass, but how did that person get to that point?
Right.
Like what in their mind, what in their life, or whatever happened to get to that point? Because we only see the end game, right? We saw the end point, but there's much more than that,
Yeah. And what and who inspired them. And hopefully they're able to inspire more people as they listen or as they share their stories too. And, just give people a little bit of, just inspiration to do whatever it is they're doing and for people to realize that their dreams are possible. Because a lot of these dudes or people are living their dreams. They never thought that they would be in the positions that they're in, or, how we all have failed and we've all made a lot of mistakes, and we'll talk about that too, because it's not always going to be about the good, but we want to know the bad too, and what the struggles were, and how you were able to accomplish what you accomplished, and learn from those mistakes and things like that. There'll be people on here that aren't real famous. And I think that would be something that we've decided to do intentionally, just to provide a platform for the next generation, people that are up and coming, and people that, there's always the next shit. If it's in music, if it's in, graffiti, if it's in tattoos, if it's in car builders, whatever it is, there's always the next shit. And I think it's important to provide people that are up and coming, not just real famous people with a platform. And obviously we'll try to choose people or invite people that we find interesting and see some talent in them and have a good story. So then there'll be the names that everyone recognizes. You're like, wow, there's, OG Abel, or, whoever it is, or whoever the person is, that a lot of people will recognize their name. So, it'll, like I said, local, international, famous, not so famous, and just cool stories.
And what about like topics that may have a little controversy surrounding them, such as gentrification? Right now the big issue with that park in Austin, is going around with times that are changing, and we see it here in San Diego as well. Some things that people have different viewpoints, but yet everyone's entitled to their viewpoint. But let's discuss it, in a certain manner that we can hopefully learn from each other and grow.
I think that's really important, because what I'd like to do is that we may invite people to the show that we may not agree with their ideologies or their opinions or their perspectives, but I think it's important to provide some of them with a platform to share their views and to share whatever it is they're doing. And yeah, there will be some tough subjects, and I'm hoping to get into gentrification and invite some people, some local people, and talk about some things that people hear about, but they don't hear both sides, and some of these people that are on the other side of that have things to say as well, and they have their reasons for feeling the way that they do. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying to get into some dialogue, maybe some politics and things like that with people around us, people in the community, or just people who have something to say or have a gripe or whatever it is. Okay, so this is kind of a list that I came up with. Some of the things we'll be discussing here. Obviously, graffiti, lowriders, design, music, b-boying or breaking, art, DJs, tattooing, rock and roll, skateboarding, car clubs, money, and managing your money, MMA, because there's definitely some real good MMA people and boxers and jiu-jitsu heads around us, hip hop in general, Southern California, streetwear, because that's something that obviously I'm really passionate about. And I think there's a lot of distortion in the definition of streetwear, the history of streetwear, where streetwear is at now, and how it got to be where it is, the roots of streetwear, beer, because we like beer.
Yeah. And we live, craft brewery around here in San Diego was a mecca.
Yeah, this is kind of the craft brewing capital of the world, I think. So beer, food, we'll have some chefs, the food truck guys and things like that, travel, because that's something that you and I both really enjoy doing is we've done some really cool traveling, and we'll talk about travel and international things, politics, comedy, because there's some funny people around us, some comedians that we have access to, raza, because that's who we are. And that's something that obviously we feel strong about. Some sports, not too much sports, but just enough, because I don't know a shit ton about sports, car culture, just cool shit in general. You know what I mean? Just things that we think people may be interested in and wanting to listen,
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on there, but like we're not single dimensional. You know, there's multiple aspects to all of us, and we used to get painted with a broad brush. You know what I mean? And like I'm into all that. Everything that you just said, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm a professional at none.
Yeah.
But I'm into it all, you know what I mean? And I appreciate the work that goes behind all of that stuff and whatever discipline they do, from being a chef, like that's hard shit.
Yeah.
To brewing beer. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do.
We're products of Southern California. So we've been, blessed and to be exposed to all the things that we've been exposed to, or even just being here in the building on a daily. You can walk around the building in 2 minutes and there's artistic's got some people up there producing some hip hop. There's, the skateboarders in the skate shop and out front. You can pick one of the tattoo guys that are tattooing right now. There's always something to do with cars and art everywhere, and it is what it is, so to share a little bit of what we're doing here with the rest of the world. And I think it's the tribal over the last 32 years has built this network, just everything and all the contributors and the people that have supported the brand and what we've done just to put us in this position and provide us with the ability to do this in this blue room.
In this blue room. It's a very nice room. We'll have video as well, eventually. So we can see Bobby's face on YouTube.
That probably won't happen too much, but yeah, this is, we're excited about it, man. And I hope, the listeners excited too, because like I said, I already know like what we've got already recorded and what we've got scheduled. I think people are going to be excited. I don't think there's any other podcast like it. Especially with the amount of, diversity that it'll have and just different types of guests and things like that. So, but, we're going to give it our best shot. And, I hope people enjoy it.
I think they will, because also they'll get to know us, for like myself, right? Like I mean,
yeah. Tell us about yourself, Johnny.
I don't know what to say that people don't already know. I grew up, low riding. My dad's low rider. My brother, I got my first ride when I was 14. It's a 48 Fleetline.
Yeah.
Primer, I worked on it. I was welding at that age, changing out transmissions. A lot of work went into it. Ultimately now, like I got the 61 convertible in 2002 for $2,000.
Damn.
With a 4-door parts car.
Oh shit.
The convertible was all fucked up, right? No floor.
What year?
2002.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I got it in Altadena. I got it off of the recycler. Luckily, the recycler used to publish print on Wednesday nights and then go out on Thursday to the stores. That's when the internet first started. I looked up online, recycler.com, and they posted it, I guess as they got it. I called the dude up, went up the next morning and bought it. Yeah.
A 61 rag for $2,000.
$2,000. On the way, the guy I bought it off of, his name was Jerome. He had a 61 all hooked up too. And they ended up getting pulled over by the CHP right by Deer Springs.
Yeah.
And they didn't have tags on their tow truck. Like they were expired. So the CHP called a tow truck, like one of those big ass ones, to tow the tow truck that was towing the convertible and the 4-door. So this big ass tow truck had the tow truck, the two Impalas, and luckily the CHP was cool because he called me. The guy was like, "Hey, we got pulled over. They're gonna tow it." And I drove over there really quick, talked to the CHP officer. He's like, "Look, I'll let his tow truck driver, the guy that's impounding it, deliver the cars to you for whatever he wants to charge you." I said, "Cool, just let me know."
Hell yeah.
So luckily the guy was cool. He towed it to, I was living on 3rd Street right here in Esco back then. And it was funny. It was already late. It was dark. The big tow truck took up the whole road because it was one of those, old school neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it was a sight to see. It was a big ass tow truck towing a little tow truck with one car on the flatbed and then one car
shit.
dragging.
Did you get a picture?
No, you know what? I have some of those disposables that, you know how we are. We never get them developed. That there may be pictures. But that tow truck driver, we just ended up trading work, and we're like, oh, I just need some stuff welded. He's like, don't worry about it. So it was cool. So I guess that's the extent to my story. But besides that, you know, growing up lowrider, experiencing Highland, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the car club scene, being with Viejitos now 16 years, you know, since 2004.
Yeah. He forgot to mention his 36 Packard.
The 36 Packard.
36 Packard convertible.
Yeah. I bought that in 2008, fixed it up to like 2010, 2011.
Yep.
And it's been a ride since then. You know, it's fun to I always tell people, you know, the cars are meant to be used, cause they're going to turn to rust like we turn to dust. So let's enjoy our time with them. And however you want to enjoy them, that's up to you, you know, and don't knock anybody else, because they're enjoying their, you know, artwork or their, you know, their ride, just as you do your way.
Right.
And let's just all have a good time, you know, and it's been fun. I mean, it's always been fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just hope to inspire other people to find whatever they love, to just do it, you know, because in a blink of an eye, we're going to be, you know, old and unable to do certain things, and we shouldn't live with I should have, or I only if I, you know, just do it, you know. So
that's
it's all good. Yeah. And fortunate enough to be a good friend of you, Bobby, and you showed me a lot, you know, in the time that I've known you, and you're very inspirational.
Well, thank you, Johnny.
And I've learned a lot, and it's I think it's great that this is going on, because you can spread that love to everyone. You know what I mean? It's just being sort of a figure that people can relate to and learn from, you know, and I think that can resonate with a lot of people in our community, because we only see them when they drive by, or we only see their post, you know what I mean, of doing whatever they do. Whatever they've experienced, to be able to share that with everyone, not only the younger people, but the older people as well, to help grow, you know, as people, and just try to live a better life. You know what I mean? And that, cause that knowledge, that experience is priceless, you know?
And that's what I think we're going to get a lot of here, is people opening up and sharing some knowledge and sharing some, you know, just stories of how they got to where they're at, and not just, like I said, not just the positive, but the struggles and just everything that it takes to, you know, to achieve their dreams or whatever. So it's pretty exciting, because, you know, a lot of these guys or people, you know, are friends of ours, and we know the stories, but I think we're going to go a little deeper, and it'll be exciting to hear, you know, a lot with what people don't know about some of these individuals. So
no, outside of tribal, what about Bobby? What about Bobby Ruiz?
That dude, yeah, man, it's I grew up, you know, in Southern California skateboarding. I discovered low riding while skateboarding here in South San Diego in the later part, probably like mid to late 70s. I grew up just with the love for everything that's Southern California, like skateboarding and low riders and Chicano culture. And you know, later on, was always into music, you know, as a young kid, and then in junior high and high school. And then, I went to college. I went to San Diego State, and I worked my way through San Diego State as a custodian. I worked as a janitor for like 5 years. I also worked with the family business for a while. My brother and I grew up working swap meets on the weekends. So we were always hustling and, you know, working and always had a job. And I just decided to do whatever it takes to get through college. My wife has also helped me along the way with, you know, my schooling and helping me get through college. And you know, there was a point where she was paying the rent, you know, and I was just kind of holding on for a while, just going to school. But, 3 great kids, you know, living the dream, bro. Like I work with great people. I get to travel. I love traveling. That's probably one of my favorite things to do is traveling. Like I just enjoy, architecture, older architecture, art, obviously, food, like just eating different things and just exploring other cultures and just seeing the sights, man, just trying to see the world, everything from, tiny little islands off of the Philippines to, just old architecture in Europe or wherever, and of course, San Diego's my home, man. It's always been, my home, and I love it here. And there's just, so much to do, and the lifestyle is just beautiful, I enjoy like hiking and, obviously spending time with the family and bike riding. And I like to cook, I do that. And probably most people don't know that, but I enjoy, doing all kinds of cool stuff, and tribal's my baby. It's like my fourth kid, and, man, dude, it's been an amazing ride. I've been super blessed to just have worked with, so just I can't even begin to tell you with, the people that I've worked with, and not just, graphic design and art, but in music, rock and roll and hip hop, and, just everything, and all over the world. When we talk about, that we're worldwide, and, you hear our little tagline is, we're the worldwide tribal clique, is because we really are, and there's, we got homies all over the world, all over Asia, South America, Europe. There's the homie, like I was mentioning earlier, this is like people in Africa and the Middle East, and, all over the world that are down and represent, and got love for us, and we got love right back. So, and a lot of these people will be on the podcast. So, and that's part of the excitement, man, is just being able to share some of these people with the listener and their stories. Cause I know, like a lot of these people, and it should be super cool. So people can see just beyond their graphics, or just beyond their posts, or what they've done for tribal. Like, let's talk to these people.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So back in '89, right?
Yeah.
Tribal started.
Yep.
Did you think it was gonna be something like this, where we're sitting down at the Lower Left podcast talking about the people that we're going to have discussions with?
Not even close, man. Like I and people always ask me, did you ever think? Nah, I didn't think that much. I didn't think that. We had vision, I think, little visions here and there. And there was definitely some inspiration early on, and it was a day-to-day type thing. And we were always just kind of just making moves to the next day, and making moves to the next day. And the network kept growing, and the business kept growing. And the amount of people that would come through and contribute, and I never thought that. I mean, it was a vision. It wasn't like, but it wasn't anything that I believe in that too. Like, I think it's, if you think about something like that whole, the secret thing, and you can manifest things, and you can pray about things, and things like that. And they happen, and you just work on it little by little, and you keep it in your head, and you keep working on it and taking little steps towards it, and shit happens. Like this building here, it's like, walked into the building, and when we first, moved in here, it was surrounded by homeless people and tents, and it was dirty on the inside, and there was, mice and rats, but I had a vision, and here we are, and people that are in the building, and they can see the building and what we've turned it into. And the community has changed a lot here. There's high rises going up all around us. The homeless people are still kind of around here, but not even close to as bad as it was when we first got in the building. There were 8 porta potties across the street, and they'd pump them every day, and it stunk like fuck. It is what it was, but there was a vision, and there was kind of just something that I felt like we could do, just collectively, and it's there's no place like it, man. Like just, even if there is, you know, I'll go ahead and say the quality of what's in here, not just what it is, but the quality of, you know, what's going on in this building and the history behind it and what's in here with, you know, just people and the collection and just on the daily basis. And just how mixed up it is and diverse.
You know? And you know what? It's a trip too. And going back to tribal, because ultimately the lower left came from tribal gear, correct? And
so the tribal's my baby and lower left is tribal's baby.
Yeah. But it's a trip, right? Because back in '89, like you were a pioneer, because streetwear was in its infancy, and now everyone knows it. You know, not Tribal the brand, but everyone knows streetwear, and everyone has a company that does streetwear, and it's really like oversaturated now. Right. But back then in the '80s, like that was when it was barely being born.
Yeah, man. It's so in 1989, my brother Joey and I had you know, we were always hustling. We were always just buying and selling. And we, like I said, we worked the swap meets and we had acquired a bunch of, t-shirts and some hoodies and things like that from this guy who ended up burning us in the end. You know, we took us for $2,000 and, but
that was like $1 million in the 80s, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of money, dude. But everything's a lesson learned. You know, people pay for their education regardless. Like you're going to learn, either go to college or you don't go to college regardless. You're going to pay to learn. Like you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to, you know, spend some money you shouldn't have been spending. You're going to get jacked for money, whatever it is, you're going to pay for your education. So, my brother at that time was designing Tattoo Flash. And to back up a little bit, during that time, I was like, you know, the skate kind of, you know, always skating, low riding and had a skateboard in my low rider, you know, it's like, that's just the guy that I was. But I was wearing like Stussy. That was the only real streetwear brand that I would consider a streetwear brand from back then. And then, I really like Santa Cruz, you know, Pau Peralta, the skate brands. But there was nothing that really spoke to us as, you know, Chicanos, Southern California, really from the fucking streets, not just some bullshit like, you know, marketing or whatever. You know, Stussy's cool, but to this day, you know, I don't think they ever got close to our street cred and our international street cred or supporting the cultures that we represented. You know, I've never seen them at any hip hop jams or supporting B-boy events or, you know, at rock concerts or, you know, whatever it was, you know, not to badmouth them or anything, but, you know, I think that, to be a true streetwear brand, you have to represent and to be out there and mixing it up and actually supporting the cultures that you're representing with your brand. And that goes for companies today too. Cause a lot of it's coming just straight from a keyboard and photography and, you know, whatever they're finding on the internet and, you know, whatever. So that's another story. But so my brother and I started putting some of his Tattoo Flash, which was back then, it was primarily like, Aztec Mayan type of motifs, you know, like traditional tribal stuff. And, and then I was doing some letters, you know, some little logo letters, and we'd lay out some motifs, and I would do, cause I was always into like hand styles and Chicano style street, you know, graffiti from that you'd see in the neighborhoods out here, not the hip hop shit. Cause that didn't come out here till much later, or I didn't see it until later. It might have been in LA, you know, stronger, but I didn't see it in San Diego till later. But, the shit worked, man. You know, we started the printing his graphics on the shirts and doing little designs. Cause I knew a little bit about graphic arts, and, I took graphic arts in high school, and I took, television production and film and photography and things like that in high school. And then when I was in college, I started, you know, I studied some film and photography a little bit further and things like that. But, I knew about graphic design and silk screening and doing shirts. So it pretty much, it worked, and one style you know, we'd sell it to our neighbors, our cousins, our friends, anybody that wanted it. And it's the same, you know, what you hear out the trunk and out the back of my parents' shop, out of our garage, wherever, you know, wherever we could store the boxes or people could find us. And it just kept growing. Like people would see the shirts and where'd you get that? And one shirt next led to the next and so on and so forth. So, that was in 89 and, you know, it was different. It wasn't anything that people were doing. And then we started incorporating some of the lowrider stuff, you know, and there wasn't anybody really doing cool lowrider shit, except maybe you could get a few things from Lowrider magazine. So my brother and I started, you know, doing some lowrider stuff on the shirts. And then when I was, a senior at San Diego State, I curated an art show at the Centro here in San Diego. And, at that time I was doing some research and I met some of the local graffiti artists, people like Zodak and, Dyes, Severe, Quasar, you know, Buster, just a lot of the local cats, Saki. Just there was a lot of talent and this whole shit was new to me, man. Like where's all these, cause it was hip hop style graffiti. Like where'd all these colors come from? And these guys are using fucking doing real skinny lines. And being that I was into graffiti and we would do 1 and 2 color stuff. This was like a whole other fucking ball game. So I became friends with them, looked a little deeper. And then when I curated that show, I invited, you know, them to be a part of the show and became friends with a lot of these dudes. And the show was really cool. Same thing, dude. Lowriders. Had some lowriders from Amigos that were in the gallery. A lot of those artists I just mentioned were in there. A couple photographer friends of mine like Speedy. And some Chicano art as well. And there was a couple of those dudes like Zodak and Dyes were the first 2 guys to do like, I told me, hey, I got this brand that I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, you know, it wasn't like anything huge. It was just kind of an idea that my brother and I were doing. And, they did some graffiti style graphics for us. And then a little bit later, a couple years later, I don't know what year it was, like 91, 90. I curated another show and that's where I met Carl Ariano. So it was a food drive graffiti show. And we got some exposure and from Can Control magazine, this graffiti mag out of LA. This dude named Power was doing it. Him and this dude named Skate, rest in peace, from LA came down. They covered the show and we got some exposure there through this magazine and we were all wearing this tribal shirt that looked like a Krylon can. And, Power told me that he was getting, and back then there was no social media, no emails. There was pick up the phone or write a letter. You know, that's how you get in touch with people. So he was telling me he was getting a lot of letters from people asking where they could get those shirts that we were wearing. So he hit me up. He goes, hey man, I'm getting this thing. You know, people are hitting me up like where they can buy those shirts. And at that point we were like, Carl and I were like, fuck. Well, we can sell them. So we would make these little mail order, mailers. Like we'd ask people to send us, we'd put ads in the magazine to send us a self-addressed stamped envelope or send us a letter with their address. So this is how shit was done back then. You know what I mean? Like send us your address and we'll send you a catalog. Or, you know, we started picking up some stores in Hollywood and Hamels right here in Mission Beach was like our first official, you know, account right on the boardwalk right here in Mission Beach, which is still there. Hamels is still there. But that was before Carl. I'm skipping all over the fucking place. But anyways, and then, it's a long story, man.
Shit was 30 some years,
yeah,
right?
Shit just, it took off from there, you know, and then, I started seeing, Carl and I started seeing that during that time, like the early 90s, there was like this whole rave type scene that was happening in San Diego. And there were some brands that were coming out. There were 2 in particular that stood out. One was called Fat, and that's the homie David Lively's was his brand. He's now owner of one of the owners of Fall Brewing here in San Diego and still a great friend of mine. And then another one was called Stupid. So Fat and Stupid. So those, but they were doing shit that was, Fat had kind of a skate element to it, and Stupid, I think they did too. I didn't know too much about them, but it was kind of ravey too, because I was during the rave scene. So Carl and I were doing stuff that was more hip hop, Chicano, graffiti letters like all over the place. And I'd look at these two brands, and I remember telling Carl, man, if these guys can do it, we can fucking do it, bro. Like, we can do it 10 times, you know? And we did, you know, we ended up doing some trade shows. Our first trade show in 92 here in San Diego, the ASR Action Sport Retail Show. And those were the shows that any cool kid, if whatever you were into, if you were into, you know, skateboarding or hip hop or rap music or rock and roll or surfing or whatever, you had to be at that show, because that was like the event. So we heard that if we did good at the show, we could make like $15,000. We were going to be rich. You know, like, fuck, that's a lot of money.
Big time.
That's big.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing the show, and I think we ended up writing like 60, 80, something like that. Problem was, we didn't know how we were going to produce it. You know, we were like, fuck, how are we going to produce all these orders? We don't have money to produce that much. So a friend of mine, well, actually a family member, lent us $10,000. Just, I figured like we did some moving around and did some shit, able to use what we had, and then what we were going to produce, flip it a couple times, and we ended up shipping it all. And so that was the start pretty much of the whole thing, and then just continued to do trade shows and magazine ads and, you know, sponsor events, and working with, you know, freestyle session, well, B-Boy Summit, freestyle session, the Rocksteady Anniversary, touring Japan. We've toured Japan in the early days, like starting in 94. I think we were one of the, if not the premier brand to take a big tour out there with, you know, the first time we went out, we had B-Boys with us from Rocksteady and some local kids. We had graffiti writers, Zodak, Joker, Zard. We had the Beatnuts with us, Born Jamaicans. We had pro skaters with us. We were like, all these things that Tribal represents to this day was in that first Japan tour. You know, tattooers later on, you know, Cartoon went with us several times, and Esteban, and, you know, Delinquent Habits and the Cycle Realm, and it just Tony Touch and, you know, Crazy Legs. And they were just these crazy tours. And a lot of those relationships that happened during those first tours are 100% intact to this day. Like, cause it was just, we were breaking ground out there. We were pioneering and bringing culture to Japan, you know, and we were overseas. We were fucking in Japan, you know, and this was like 94. And,
Did you have any Tribal videos at that point?
No. But we started producing them. There was a videographer that came with us, back then. I think his name was Justin. And then I would shoot a little bit, and, he would, you know, shoot and do photography and things like that. But that's a good question, because those videos, being that I did study video and film and photography in college and in high school, I knew, you know, there was skate videos that were hitting it big, the H Street stuff, the Pal Peralta stuff, obviously, but nothing that really spoke to us. So, I mean, other than the skateboarding, of course. So I'm like, fuck, I want to do a video with tattoos and lowriders and lowrider bikes and graffiti and, and hip hop and B-boys and just everything that was surrounding us. And here's my opportunity. And, we did it. And at that time, you couldn't see any of these cultural, you know, elements on television or in movies. You could see it in magazines, not all of it, but you could see it in magazines. But it was one of the first things I think that went international to share this culture with the rest of the world, especially from Southern California. So those VHS tapes really launched us, I think. Because if one person had it, it was, especially if they were someplace other than Southern California, they were flipping out. They never seen no cars hopping. They never seen no, these kinds of tattoos. They haven't seen this kind of graffiti or this kid spinning on his head or, whatever it was, that was in those videos. And obviously back then they were a little bit slower because the editing was different. Of course, the quality was different, but those were the first ones that were done on VHS. And people got to remember, was way before social media. You couldn't get on your Instagram, you couldn't get on your Facebook, you couldn't get on YouTube. You couldn't see this culture unless you were looking at it in a magazine. And a lot of that was bullshit anyways. Or, or you had to experience it.
And you couldn't even record it yourself without investing into equipment.
Right.
Right. It's not as easy as now just breaking out your phone.
Exactly. Yeah. We were carrying around these clunky ass cameras and, but, those videos and later the DVDs, really helped establish who we are, collectively, obviously because of, we've worked with, fuck, man. During that time period in the 90s and the early 2000s, when Limp Bizkit was huge and, Linkin Park and POD and Korn and Cypress Hill and on and on and on. This was all part of who we were and who we are and what we did and how we represented and we gave each other support and we gave each other credibility because people were like, did you ever think that, Limp Bizkit or Korn or POD or whoever would, Cypress Hill wear your stuff? I'm like, well, what else are they going to wear? Because at that time, there wasn't a lot of choices. You could wear, there was a couple other cool streetwear brands, and the ones that jump out are, Third Rail and Joker brand. Those were the homies. And later on, Dice started doing his thing too. But there wasn't a lot of choices, and I really don't think those dudes wanted to be out rocking, whatever Quicksilver shirts or Billabong shirts or they wanted a more street vibe, a little bit more. And being that we had the videos, people were seeing the videos being like, fuck, I want to get down with these dudes. Like, how can we get this? And it spread across the country, and then later it spread across the world, and fuck, man, it just keeps going. It's like,
and just being original, being you, being Southern California,
pretty much. But it's gone now. It's people, and you probably, some of you heard me say this 150 times, is the whole world has this fascination with Southern California. A lot of people all over the world, like what comes from Southern California / the lower left influences the whole world. You can look at, what's happening with Chicanismo, low riding, skateboarding, just the style of the everything that comes from here, how it has an influence globally. Not to say that other places of the world don't. Obviously, there's a lot of cool shit that comes from the East Coast and New York and the boroughs up there. But, and shout out to them, because there's I've learned a lot of good things. I got a lot of good friends, on the East Coast and Brooklyn and the Bronx and Queens and shit like that. But, a lot of love for those people too. And, they've shared a lot with us too. And they've contributed and provided and just nothing but love for, those people. But it's been a hell of a ride, and people can, like I said, you can walk in the building, you can feel the energy, and there's something very, very real in here. And I don't know if people believe in energy or they believe in whatever it is, but if they step into this building, especially if they walk into this side of the building, a lot of people don't see this side of the building. People come in, they pretty much restricted to the store. But once you start moving around the building, you can feel an energy. I mean, I don't think it's just me, because people have told me, there's something in here, and I don't know what it is, but
yeah. And I've been here countless times, and every time, yeah, that too at night, it does get a little. Well, it's a big building.
Yeah,
I mean, but every time I come in, there's like some new that I didn't see or didn't feel, or that some news being done here.
Yeah.
I mean, this building has transformed a lot, and it continues to, and it just grows.
That's because I just got that. I got all the ADs, ADD, ADHD, all the. I
Keep it moving.
I like things to move and to change and to, I like new shit and take stuff down and put stuff up. And my biggest problem now is I just ran out of room, bro. It's like there's a lot of art in, not just on the walls, but in the flat files, on the shelves, at the house. Just that's just who I am. And there's definitely a collection. So fuck.
Yeah. And right here at the Lower Left Podcast, it's gonna get even bigger.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna have some people in here.
That's for sure. We will. Come on. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited. Like, I really am. I'm excited to share some of these people or stories or guests with the listener, and interesting people. Like I said, some names you'll know right off the top. Some of them you might not, but I guarantee you they're going to be interesting people. Or, like going back to, like, say, the car clubs, the local clubs, for example, Amigos, Click, Majestics, Viejitos. Like, a lot of people know the clubs, they know the plaques, they know the cars, but who are those dudes? Like, I see them, I heard of them, I seen them at car show. Learn a little bit about them, learn a little about their history, learn that they're not just into low riding, learn, what makes these guys tick, and how the fuck does this dude afford this $200,000 Impala? You know what I mean? Or these, how are they building these cars? What do they do? Like, these are professional people, or, some of these tattooers that aren't just into tattooing, that are into doing so many other things other than, just tattooing, where they're from. And, like the global thing I'm excited about too is welcoming some guests from other parts of the world and things like that. So
it's a lot to look forward to.
That's right.
A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, man. Hopefully I don't fuck it up. but I think we got it. I think we got it. And basically, it's just a conversation. It's more, at the end of the day, it's just people listening in on a conversation, and I'll try to ask, the right questions. I'm sure you'll do the same, and we'll just kind of do our best to bring out what we can, and also provide that platform for people that have some things to say. And I think that a lot of these guests maybe have something on their chest. Like, hey, well, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? Is there anything that's on your mind? If it's politics, if it's whatever it is, let's talk about it. And like I said, you and I aren't going to always agree with them, but I think it's fair to, if we respect these people and they've been invited on, to allow them to share their views and their thoughts on whatever it is. And even though we might not agree with it or whatever, but at that time, if we feel like, making an argument or whatever,
yeah,
let's do that.
I'll break it out people's court style in front of Judge Wapner.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Also, too, is Artistic.
DJ Artistic will also be co-hosting, and he'll be here helping us with the podcast. DJ Artistic is, fuck, dude. I got so many good things to say about a lot of people, and that people are probably going to get sick of hearing me saying how cool and amazing and badass this dude is, but he's a real good dude. He's here in the building on a daily. He runs the music studio here. He's also known as San Diego's best DJ. DJ Artistic. He's a producer. He does clubs. He does weddings. He does, he produces live music here, like people actually coming and playing, the whole bands, or he'll produces. I think he's in there right now doing some hip hop stuff.
The studio's hooked up.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And so
you'll get to know him. People will get to know him. Yeah.
Definitely a cool cat, and he's always like I said, always helpful.
Yeah,
and he's got a lot.
Between Johnny here and Artistic, they're the tech guys. I don't know shit about like the technical part. They just put a mic in front of me and go like, okay.
Yeah, I heard the recording from last time.
Yeah, but like, I'm not gonna say too much, but we've got several recorded already, so we know what we have in store for you guys. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna trip and you're gonna enjoy it. It's, it's exciting. It's going to keep growing, and it's there's a lot of people to credit for it. Just like Tribal, like people always think, Tribal's me. Tribal ain't me, man. Tribal's everybody that contributed, everybody that's supported, all the customers, everybody that's been there the whole way. And there's a lot of those people. You know what I mean? There's a shit ton, not just here in San Diego, but all over the world. There's still a lot of love and respect and support and for Tribal and the lower left now, and I thought it was a good time to do this because, like I said, there's things that I want to say, and I know there's things that a lot of these guests that we're going to be inviting want to say, and so it'll be the shit.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, with that, Lower Left Podcast.
Lower Left Podcast. So strap on your seatbelt because we're getting ready to go. So it's about to be on. So episode 1, I think, is coming right after this.
Yeah.
So this is I don't know what we're calling this one. This is like the premiere, the preview, whatever the hell you want to call it. But we'll take off from here.
There it is, Lower Left Podcast.
Welcome to the Lower Left Podcast. Let's do this.